All right, begin.
What's going on, y'all? So I wanted to come on here and talk about the latest response from D.L Hughley after he got chastised like a child on that comedy stage by Monique. Man, that's a tough act to follow when you have to come behind that, right? But anyway, he responded and he had some things to say. Now, before we get to that, I want to post the contracts that both of them posted. Now, these two contracts right here, D.L Hughley claims that that contract was drawn up by, Monique's daddy, which is her husband, and so he posted a contract, but it was a demo. Now, they both posted the schedule that came from the promoter, and basically on DL's schedule, it does show him as the last performance, which means that he was the headliner of the show, and on Monique's schedule, it shows that she's the last performer, which meant that she was the headliner of the show. Now, what I want to do right here before I give my opinion about it is I want to play you guys the response from D.L Hughley on yesterday in regards to the situation that transpired between him and Monique, and then I'll be right back.
Harvey have to do with your contract? What did I have to do with your contract? What did my dog have to do with your contract? What does my wife have to do with your contract? You wrote your contract, you and your daddy. You proceeded to say things that were so patently insulting that it was galling. You proceeded to assault my sexuality. You have the temerity to assault someone's sexuality, a man's sexuality, given who you lay next to. None of that had anything to do with alleged contract dispute. You could have taken that up with a lawyer. You would have gotten out. You could have not gone on stage, but you knew you didn't have a valid contract. And you do what you always have done. You tried to weaponize black femininity. You tried to turn that audience against me. You tried to burn everything down. Like you do all the time. Who calls Netflix and thinks I can get $10 million because I did the Queens of Comedy? Who thinks you can get on stage and still live off that? I was a king of comedy. You never hear me talking about it because in this business, like any other, it isn't what you have done, it's what you do. That show was one I signed on to do. I made the quintessential mistake, the horrible mistake that like Tyler Perry, like Lee Daniels, like Oprah, like all these people of saying yes to you. And it is an occupational hazard. It is my fault. I have learned my lesson. You didn't just, and the thing that bothers me the most isn't the things that you said, because I know who I am and I know what I do. And I have a pristine reputation. And everybody who knows me know what I'm about. It's this whole, my dear, my babies, I love you for real, which is so transparently false, it is ridiculous. But the thing that was really the most annoying, the thing that was really the most bothersome, is after a terrible couple of weeks where people were being slain in Buffalo, where people were being slain, kids were getting slain in school, and people had come to a comedy show to get away from all of their problems, you besieged them with yours. The one contract that isn't in dispute is the one that the audience had with us to entertain them. But every single time, more and more, you spend half of your time talking about your grievances and what you didn't get and who did this to you. Listen, when you burn things up and you sit back to watch the results of them, she's literally set that stage on fire, said the most incendiary things ever, and I had to go on stage. If she has the temerity to call me a coward would have left. A coward would have said, I can't go. You didn't even want to go on when you had a contract that you knew that not to be true. You made up this whole narrative that you knew not to be true, and you played that out in front of the audience. And then I had to go on behind you. And you know what you did? You sat back and you tried to watch your damage. You set the stage on fire and you watched what you've done. You know who does that? Arsonists do that. Arsonists set shit on fire and try to see the damage it drops. But I blame myself because I know now what I didn't before. Saying yes to you is an occupational hazard, one I will not repeat. I don't blame you. I wish you well. But when you do the things you do, when everything's about you, when you're vitriolic, when you have all these fights with all of these entities, it is you. Precious was not a movie. Precious was an autobiography. That is who you are, literally. You mad at the contract you and daddy wrote, your daddy? And I don't know why you call a man daddy and you pay for him. That's a son. Let's be clear. I'm not angry with you. I'm angry with me. I did what I knew not to be true. But I'm going to tell you something. When you burn and you destroy and you wreck, You are not a queen of comedy. You're a queen of ashes. Now, while I'm going to go back to work, and you get back to your kingdom of smoke.
I'm sorry, just...
All right, so you guys heard that, and to be honest, all I heard was a bunch of deflecting, but kudos to him for admitting that Monique set the stage on fire, because that is absolutely what she did. Now, the one thing that I want D.L Hughley to come forth and just be honest about is the fact that Monique said that D.L went to the promoters and said that, hey, if Monique is headlining the show, I'm not going to do the show. He has not came out and admitted that he said it, or if he didn't say it. So I believe that Monique is telling the truth in that regard. Now, I hear a lot of people saying that Monique should be upset with the promoter, and I feel that Monique should be upset with the promoter and D.L Hughley, because if D.L Hughley went to the promoter and said, hey, I'm not going to perform if Monique is the headliner, then D.L Hughley undercutted Monique and basically took food off of her table. Now, we all know that Monique hasn't worked that much in the past decade. So D.L, how do you feel doing that to a black woman? Let's just keep it all the way real, right? And so he says that I came out on stage anyway after she lit the stage up and talked about me and made some disparaging remarks and things of that nature. I'm not a coward. No, the only reason why you came on that stage is because your pride wouldn't let you exit, because you know that people would have been calling you out if you didn't show up after a woman, a powerful black woman in Monique, just took you to task on stage. And that pride is the same reason why you went to the promoters behind Monique back and asked the promoters, and told the promoters rather, that you wouldn't perform if you wasn't the headliner, because your pride got in the way. You're the man, right? And basically, this is the thing. Monique told the truth. You opened for the kings of comedy. She closed for the queens of comedy. And so basically, when you look at Monique's career in its totality, yo, it just blows DL's career out the water. It really does. She's a better comedic talent. She's a better actress. Y'all think that D.L Hughley is more talented than Monique? Because
I don't see it.
Now, let me say this. It's so sad to see so many black women, not all black women, right, take the side of D.L Hughley, right? And we're trying within our community to change the landscape, you know, of the unprotection of black women in our community. And, you know, women say protect black women, but at the same time, you're doing nothing to protect black women. Every time I turn around, you have something negative to say, especially when it comes to Monique. And I believe that a lot of women despise Monique because Monique represents everything that some black women aren't, and that's strong. And that's not letting people run all over you, no matter who you are. And I applaud Monique because she's not letting money run her career. She's not letting money, you know, remove her from the truth, remove her from her truth, basically. She's gonna call it out. She's just like my mom. If you act up in church, that's where you're gonna get it at. You know, I love the fact that Monique is paving the way for young sisters to make it in Hollywood and, you know, go through the procedure a little bit more smoother than she did, right? Having to deal with so many snakes in the business, right? She's opening up the door. She's opening up the conversations for women that have the same hue as her to be able to get a fair and equal chance in Hollywood. And some black women out there despise that. I don't get that. In my estimation, and this goes for the men within our community and the women, there's a lot of Martin Luther Kings running around here and not enough Malcolm X's. Just keeping it all the way real.